Hi, everybody. Today's Informatica webinar, I should really call it an Informatica and Salesforce and Xactly webinar. We're really excited to have such a distinct guest on our webinar this month. And I'll just jump right into introductions. We're really going to dive into what it takes to build the next generation cloud applications. And for that, there's really no one better to kind of give us an overview of what those are going to look like and what the requirements are than Avanish Sahai from Salesforce. Avanish is the VP of Global Force.com and ISV Sales and Alliances. We also have Scott Broomfield with us, who is really going to speak to, he's going to be the intersection today. He's going to talk about how Xactly built a Force.com application called Xactly Express. And he's also going to talk about how they've taken advantage of integration technology from Informatica to really take that application to the next level. And I also, with me in the room here is Mike Wilkes, who runs the OEM Technical Alliances program for Informatica Cloud. So with that, I think I'll just jump right into prepared content and hand it over to you, Avanish, to give us an overview of what's happening at Salesforce.
Terrific. Thank you so much, and very excited to be here. So today, I'll spend about 20 minutes or so talking about the vision from Salesforce and what we call social enterprise opportunity, give a context for where we see some changes happening in the enterprise space, and then talk a bit about where we see some best practices in working with platforms, and obviously within the theme of this conversation, interoperability and integration working to that. So to with, we're a public company that have put up our safe harbor statement. It's also on our website. And what it says is any decision should be made based on publicly available information. First and foremost, let me put a couple things here that don't normally go together. And these are the inspirations for our program. One, Wayne Gretzky, the great one. The other, Mahatma Gandhi, the great old one. What two? Well, Wayne Gretzky has famously said, you got to skate to where the puck is going. And Gandhi has said, you must change you wish to see in the world. And I think that in the enterprise software space, that is the fundamental tenet of what needs to happen. And that's what Salesforce is promoting with our social enterprise vision. So what is social enterprise vision? As not most of you know, there is a tremendous revolution happening. I've consolidated a number of slides here because really each one of them tells one of the puzzle. But together, it's about mobility. It's about social. It's obviously about the cloud. And as we see what's happening in the consumer space and the handover of that into the enterprise space, we see the fundamental change happening all around us. And we call that is the social enterprise revolution, which is the combination of cloud, social, mobile, multiple applications running together. This is the fundamental future of enterprise software as well. What Facebook has done for the consumer world, we expect Salesforce to do along with our partners for the enterprise world. And for those who have been following Salesforce, you probably have seen some dramatic changes in one product portfolio. And the portfolio actually reflects the strategy of the social enterprise, which is about transforming companies. So where a few years ago we were a sales cloud primarily company, we have Service Cloud, we have Chatter, we have Heroku, we have Radian 6, these are acquisitions. This combined set of resources, technologies, applications, platform is all built around the notion of a social enterprise. We're bringing our own products with the notion of how to improve collaboration, how to transform the interaction within and across companies, how to make sure that the technology that we build, that we acquire, and that we provide to our partners all leverage this type of capability and this type of mindset. So for current and prospective partners, well, what our customers tell us is that same social enterprise framework that they see coming from Salesforce and Salesforce products, they see in all other products. And in that vein, ERP applications, compensation applications that Scott will talk about in a few minutes, inventory, accounting, payroll, MRP, sales, marketing, HR, they want to be this kind of same enablement happening across the partner ecosystem. And as Darren mentioned in his introduction, as I run the partner plan here, we're seeing tremendous interest and just tremendous innovation in how our partners are leveraging the infrastructure that we provide through our platform, but bringing their core IP, their core ideas, and enabling a whole new set of applications and a whole way of thinking about how those applications should be built, how they're delivered, and how, most importantly, how they should be consumed by the customer. So with just as background, we've thought long and hard about how to frame this for our partner ecosystem. And what I want to do over the next few slides is really give some core tenets of that. Excuse me. In order to capture this social enterprise opportunity, there are four methods, which is self-explanatory and self-evident, but we have to say, is applications that solve business problems. 2, make social through and through. 3, make them fit into social enterprises of either small, medium, or large size. Size shouldn't matter. And you should be able to start with something simple and grow, or you should be able to walk into a very large Fortune 500 organization and still have great impact and create significant value. Finally, from an organization's, from an IT's perspective itself, market itself in that social enterprise context, which is understand what is different about the engagement model with the customer. Diving into that, we have said there are some building blocks for social enterprise. We identified 6 core building blocks, and we'll go into in some detail into each one of those. The 6 are collaboration, mobility, social user experience, ability, network effects, and innovation. The foremost, collaboration. That's the natural that people think about when you think social. When you think Facebook in the consumer world, and you say, what is it about? It's about engagement. It's about collaboration. It's about interaction. Well, we think collaboration is obviously the core characteristic, but it should also be universal and meaningful. What does it mean? It should be deep across the application. It should be across the enterprise. And it should be focused on business value. It should be frictionless. It should be easy. It should not require a lot of thinking, or a lot of technology, or a lot of IT to make it work, to make it happen. So it should really be seamless. Third, multi-type. There are different ways of collaboration. And they could be through Q&A, they could be through posts, they could be monitoring, they could be through likes, but all these should be incorporated into that framework, and that's how the new wave of collaboration really works. Actor types, it's not just about people, it's also products, it's objects, it's processes, it's documents. Everything should be a part of that collaboration cycle. And it should constituency, which means it's not just internal, as I mentioned earlier, but it should also be cross-enterprise. It should be with your partners, with your vendors, with your service providers, etc. So we think on the first core building block. Second, ability, almost given, but increasingly the consumption of applications is on mobile devices first, or maybe mobile devices more, and that requires it to be ubiquitous. The application should be available. It should be available on any type of device, anytime, anywhere. People do not have to reinvent how they work to do that. Real time. Say I can go to an iPhone, to an iPad, to an Android device and log onto the web. Not be any loss of fidelity in the data or delays, etc. Reliable. It should always be there and perform and secure, no matter, again, which method I use. Persistent. Yeah, it should be the same experience, and if I go from device and one footprint to another, I should not experience a loss of quality or loss of experience in that interaction. Next, social user experience. And again, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but it's the notion of embedding feeds and threads and the ability for people to follow and track and respond and define what are the topics or items that are of interest to them. It's people, think of Facebook, etc. When you talk about social user experience, that's actually that place to start. And part of our technology and our platform is fully built around the notion of creating this model through a technology called Chatter, which is available to our partners. It should be instant. It should be easy for anyone first engages with it just to be able to intuitively figure out how to turn it on, how to use it, how to engage, how to follow, how to post, etc. It can be addictive. No argue that things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all these consumer experiences, the reason they're so successful is they're addictive. And people want to go back and check in and see what's happening, post updates, track items, etc. So addictiveness is a key attribute. Should cover what we call the social capital dynamics. It should be about creating identity and ensuring you provide value to that ecosystem in exchange for the value that you get out of it, and make sure that that's a continuous process, with ever increasing value to that. Next, interoperability, which is obviously core to the theme of conversation. Through the sponsorship of Darren and Informatica, we think this is a fundamental change in, again, how the end consumer perceives the social enterprise, which is the applications to applications. It should be system to system. So applications need to work very, very closely together. That's how they deliver on the value of the social enterprise. Secondly, identity services. So you should be able to use within this framework common identity models, ability to share information, not have to provide logins, etc. The ability to integrate and customize that integration. So API-based, standards-based, rapid deployment, rapid configuration, and rapid changes to that are very critical in ensuring the success of interoperability elements of the social enterprise. Finally, critical to all cloud conversations, ensuring that data is secure and the exchange of data is done in a very secure fashion, which is obviously critical for any enterprise application. And Scott and Darren will talk some more about live examples of how that comes together. View is what we call network effects. And this is about creating a model which is self-organizing, right? Where the notion of Facebook and having more people in your network and more people connecting to others, etc., that's how that value gets built. And it should be easy to create those connections, create groups, create defined processes, and not require a lot of administrative or IT resources to do that. By default, highly transparent. People should be able to access information, see information, exchange information very easily and very quickly. And that notion of what siloed-based enterprise applications have been unable to deliver in the past. They cross-category, so ability to work this off different application sets, so customer service, marketing, finance, all should be able to interact and collaborate on what's relevant to their particular business, and that's how greater value gets created over time. It should cross network. It should not be just the internal network, as we've mentioned before. It should be able to talk to public networks like Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever is relevant to that particular application or that business. Last building block for us, as we see it, is obviously innovation. This is about innovation. This is all about changing the dynamics of the enterprise technology world. And we think that we're still in the infancy. There's so much innovation to come that it's folks like yourselves, current and prospective partners, are the ones who are really going to drive completely new ways of thinking about enterprise framework. That and all together, so what does it mean, right? So social enterprise framework is a framework that we have been at Salesforce been using for the last year, and it's been amazingly successful engaging customers and partners and prospects in thinking how they view their world. How do they view their different processes? And for every customer, we build a wheel, as you see on the right side here, with different levels of business processes. Could be internal, could be external, could be cross-enterprise, etc. Partners fit in? Well, look at just some of the logos on the left side. Many of these should be known to all of you, many of you. People occur Xactly today. All partners of ours who are become part of this social enterprise fabric, because the fun tenet here is these applications need to work together. They need to work in the context of transforming that organization that customer organization into social enterprise. In order to do that, they need to integrate. They need to talk to each other. They need to share data. And all of our customers tell us that this is a fundamentally day for them to think about their business, but it really opens up eyes to transforming their organization. And I mentioned in a prior slide, we break this up into a variety of different interactions and help our customers understand and help our partners understand how to engage within internal collaboration processes such as the employee social networks, or right side, the customer social network, the product social network, or the partner social network. And here is understanding in each of these buckets technologies. What are the business process transformations? What are the interactions, integrations, data, et cetera, that needs to happen to make the organization as a whole a much more successful social enterprise? With that, and just to wrap, again, the inspiration we've gotten is from people like Wayne Gretzky and Mahatma Gandhi. Skate where it's going, be the change you wish to see in the world. We see social enterprise framework as a good way to engage customers, to engage prospects. Our owners are doing that, but we more want to see our partners' products come into that framework, collaborate seamlessly across organizational silos, and really unlock a lot of the value in the organization. I'm going to pass the puck back to Darren, and Darren, it's all yours.
Great overview, Avanish. Thank you, and thank you for putting Gretzky on there. As a Canadian, we sort of treat him in the same light as Gandhi, so that was pretty cool. So let's go through. We want to really make this next section fairly interactive and try to bring in Scott, who's going to kind of tie it all together with what's happening over at Xactly. I thought I would give you a quick overview of Informatica, and you know Informatica as a very successful enterprise software company, but you may know that for the past 5 or 6 years, we've invested heavily in the cloud, and we've built a purpose-built cloud integration service. And we've really focused on trying to make integration as simple as possible. What Avanish went through it's a great reiteration of the key principles of really thinking differently about the applications you're building for cloud. It's not just a matter of taking your existing on-premise software and hosting it. That is absolutely a recipe for no success. And so we have built a very separate yet interoperable service that is multi-tenant and follows a lot of the tenets that Avanish took us through. So that's to get up and running quickly, take a trial online, and really get some value fast is really a key principle for us. And what we've seen, a lot of our business has been focusing on selling directly to people who might not have otherwise been able to access or manage the data integration requirements. By providing a simplified service, really expanding the reach of who can deliver this capability. But what we're seeing now is a shift to the application vendors themselves, people building apps like many of you on the call today. The need for integration is critical, whether it's for customer onboarding, some sort of migration, or an ongoing synchronization. That ability to connect to multiple systems and really take away that pain and deliver that value is what Informatica has been focusing on. So you can see some of the logos that we have here on the slide of partners that we've been working with. Many Force.com partners, and increasingly more and more Force.com partners, are relying on Informatica Cloud. So what I just wanted to let you know about is first of all, how we think about connectivity. For us, this is all about being able to connect to multiple systems quickly and help you as an organization building an application or a platform to deliver that to your customers. And as I said, take that away, take that off the table. So we have a rapid connector toolkit that really is all about recognizing the key kind of principles of a web services API and allowing you to rapidly build a connector and deliver that through our marketplace. So that's the first really component of our integration platform as a service. Second is what we call integration templates. And there's some pretty neat things here. We're going to be talking more and more about these in the coming months. The ability to rapidly recognize that there's defined processes around integration and be able to recognize that and accelerate the deployment of those processes. And I can talk a bit about what they're doing at Xactly, but also even to be able to build a rapid integration application. So it may be for a use case that we don't know about. It may not be for replication or synchronization or migration. Able to take our tools and build something custom to your solution, take advantage of REST APIs and other underlying technologies, increasingly critical. Because as Avanish mentioned, every social enterprise is unique and requires that level of interoperability and integration. So we recognize that every partner application is unique, and we want to be able to deliver flexible and custom solutions to our partners. So some of the examples of that are using Informatica for this notion of embedded integration would be companies like Xactly, but also Dun & Bradstreet, Libre On Demand, and MicroStrategy. And there's a trend here. I wanted to include a quote from Gartner. We're excited to see integration really getting more and more attention and awareness in the market as it relates to cloud computing and really as it relates to cloud success. There's a new layer that's really evolving as kind of the other side of a platform as a service, which is the integration platform as a service. And we're really working on partnering closely with friends at Salesforce and ensuring that we're able to deliver that tight integration layer to that overall platform. I just want to wrap up, and I want to bring in Mike Wilkes, who, as I mentioned earlier, runs our technical alliances program as well, before we bring in Scott. And Scott, you may see some other things here, some of the reasons that you decided to work with a third party for the integration. We say four. So one is the ability to focus on the innovation that you and your company provide and let Informatica focus on what we do well. Second is this ability to have a hybrid deployment. So as I mentioned, Informatica has very well established trusted enterprise class data integration technology, as well as data quality and master data management. Having that interoperability with our underlying technology for a solution has been increasingly critical to some of our larger partners building platforms and apps in the cloud. Performance and scalability is another thing to look for in any integration technology, and then really customer success. So Mike, what would you, as someone who's worked closely with some of our key partners, anything you'd add in terms of these four, or ones you'd say are the critical factors?
No, these resonate well with customers. There's two classes of customers on the front end of this. There's new customers that want to leverage the breadth of our technology. They realize we're the industry leader in integration, and we're also leader in integration in the cloud space. So they want to future-proof their purchase, and they realize by going with us that happens. That's on the direct side. On the indirect side, they realize we're working closely with industry visionaries like Salesforce. So we are building the capacity, as you indicated, to leverage our technology in the cloud as a platform. So great seamlessly with Force and Heroku, and Scott's going to show you examples of that, and Avanish has been discussing that. So with capacity to embed our technology on a platform such as Force or Heroku and seamlessly enable that experience, which Scott will show you. And on the second class of user base is our installed customers, and they also want to move into the cloud. They have very large Informatica deployments. They want to leverage the cloud, and they want to move into the future and also move more quickly in the time space. So it enables our installed customers to safely and quickly move into a very large cloud environment.
That's a great overview, and that's actually a really good setup for you, I think, Scott, as a company that already been using some Informatica technology in-house and then took advantage of some cloud technology. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us your story, and then we can open it up. There's been some questions that have come in, and I want to make sure we get to those as well.
Hey, that's great, Ken, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak to the audience. Avanish, it was you're back to follow. You speak great about your platform, and it's one of the reasons probably why we built our product, on the Force platform and are using Informatica. Just a quick high level about who we are. We are the leader in cloud-based incentive compensation, performance, and solutions. We are the fastest growing company now in the world. This slide says 425. I actually think by the end of this next quarter we'll be at about 500, so growing very fast. We are completely focused on a best-of-breed solution in the incentive and compensation space, more targeted at salespeople, but also targeted at folks outside the sales organization by our platform, and I'll discuss that a little bit when we talk about the real problem that we solve. And we have about $4.5 billion in compensation annually. What this simply means is that we pay 100,000 people that are on variable comp. We calculate this, and the amount of total dollars that we calculate for that we run the payroll files through to something like ADP payroll is now almost approximating $1 billion a year in payroll. Excuse me. Essence of what we do and why this is important is in most organizations there is a chasm between the sales organization and the finance organization. I'm probably saying something here that everybody sort of personally feels and experiences every day in their companies, where the finance organization has a set of objectives, often surrounding efficiencies and effectiveness and lower costs, and specifically related to commissions and compensation and incentives, making sure that the lowest cost of sale is attributable to the products. On the sales side of the house, they're interested in motivating the sales force, giving visibility into the sales force, making sure the sales force sells the most product, the most services they possibly can. There's times a difference between the objectives of the organization and the behaviors which are exhibited by the sales force. And what it does is tie those together through a series of incentives with the rules that are done in our calculation engine, again built on the Force platform, are driven so that the behaviors inside the sales organization are in alignment with the objectives of the company. People in the finance sort of side of the world, they argue that it is a sad thing that the salespeople are always trying to game the commissioning system. I think we actually like that mantra. We like that the salespeople can figure out how to game a commission system because you designed the system right and you pull together technologies, and the rules that you set up in your structure, in your solution, are exactly what you want the salespeople to be selling. Therefore, if they figure that out because you're communicating it the correct way and they have visibility towards it, then they're actually selling the products and services that you want them to sell with a best practices model. And the compelling nature of what we do in the company. A little bit here about trying to tie these things together. And I only have 3 slides because I'd like to be able to open up to some conversation here. But fundamentally, what this is about for us is really simple. We do not pay the payroll to the salespeople out of a record inside the CRM system. We pay a W-2 payroll file that goes to AP payroll or one of the other big payroll processors. And there, the system of record has to be a definitive system of record or master data management record. That oftentimes comes out of a financial system, billing system, or supply chain system. And for that, and this is where we're going to start tying a few of these elements here, the reason is that the rules that companies pick and choose from to create their commissioning structures are different. All one of our companies, and we almost have 500 now, have different forms and structures. The commission strategy for commissioning that they have, for example, at Salesforce, Salesforce is one of our customers, is totally different than the commissioning strategy that they would have for, let's say, General Electric, as an example. For the systems we have to pay out of are distinct over the place. Some of these systems are in cloud. Some of these systems are on-premise. So when we lend a customer and bring some to our ecosystem, we have to understand two things at the most fundamental level. We have to understand what is it that they're trying to incentivize, what behaviors, and then create a set of rules around making sure that those behaviors are manifested in architecture. Calculate the commission structures against the data that they want to pay the rules against. So if you, for example, had an SAP system on financials, but use Salesforce's CRM, you might be needing to extract data from both those systems. The reason why we picked Informatica, because in terms of breed, we know compensation, we know incentives, we know commissions. We do not know data creation, do not know platform. So we product Xactly Express, build platform for all the reasons that you heard Avanish discuss. And when we connect a Salesforce customer to an Intuit customer, you see it there on the slide, we're paying out of QuickBooks Online, but they're also a customer of Salesforce. So like that we're paying off of the bookings inside of Salesforce, but we hold some of that money back until the receivable is paid. Now see how we need a data record from Salesforce, and we need a data record from Intuit. And Informatica Cloud Solution gives us the opportunity, without having to create our own structures and our own technologies, to allow them to do best-of-breed data connectivity and master data management, to allow Salesforce to do what they do well, which is to create the platform as a service and the infrastructure as a service, so we can pull those tool sets in. And what we do is we build a best-of-breed solution on top of that and link all that together. The other thing it provides us, and this is a fascinating element to the vision as well, which is it then allows us, because we're pulling data from disparate sources, is then put this into a system. We'll start to look at the data across industries, and we can start to ask the question, what are the right compensation plans for given industry? We have about 2 terabytes of data now that flows through our system. Again, we pay about 100,000 people a month. We do about 170 million calculations a month against those 100,000. So you can see how complicated the incentives can actually be in our system. But then what we do is we can feed back through, because of the dynamics of the information in the cloud, and only a cloud provider could do this, because only a cloud provider is true multi-tenant, single instance, multi in terms of the application, single instance in terms of the data. Only ones that can actually look across the data and say, for these industries, the best practices. And when we do that, we're actually able to not only automate the commissioning and incentives process for a company, but we're able to optimize and improve the performance. And that means the performance of people attaining quota, which then means an increase in the top-line performance of the company. And we can pull that stuff together. So we use Informatica Cloud when we have an on-demand solution or when we have a cloud solution. So for example, if we want to sync up with, let's say, a Great Plains desktop and into a QuickBooks desktop, we could do that with Informatica Cloud. Or if that company wanted to use, let's say, their financial ledger, but they wanted to go into the cloud, we could directly connect that in via the Informatica Cloud product. What we like about it is that it seamlessly interfaces the data objects. So what we're able to do is you don't have to be an IT person to tap the data in your general ledger system in a complicated way. The user or the business analyst that knows what they want to commission off of can then and do those mappings directly and then create an automated structure that then we can pay from. And then mentally, the way that we tie that all together, again, having built Express on the Force platform and using all those tools and capabilities, and using Informatica Cloud to connect out when you need that connection to a company that has more than one data source. And with Darren, I'll hand it back to you, and we can open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, Scott, some good questions coming in, and just this great overview of kind of a company using really new technology to move your business forward, and it's, congratulations on your success. So let me just, before we jump into a Q&A, I just do want to remind people, or let people know who might be new to this whole concept, we at Informatica have created, just like Salesforce, and I want to bring Avanish into this as well. You can get started today. You can go to informaticacloud.com/ISV and sign for a trial and start working with our integration service and finding some ways to, very quickly to create some value in your business. So I just wanted to put that out there. Let me start with a question, and I'm actually going to open it up to you, Avanish, first. I know Scott's been kind of telling the story of a company building on your platform. What can you tell us about the cost of doing that, of getting started with Force.com, and then the time to ultimately being able to take your product to market?
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, that's a question that comes up all the time, and I think part of the innovation that we talked about earlier applies also to the business model. And one thing we've done pretty much at the beginning of our program is that for our prospective partners, the cost of getting into the program is absolutely zero. So the notion of developing, signing up as a developer, as a partner, use resources to build, to test, to come up with different ideas, there's no cost associated. The only cost starts to kick in is when the partner starts to sell. Then, depending on our business arrangement, we could have a % of revenue or a fixed fee, but only again when the partner actually starts to make money. So that is our commitment to our partners in terms of joint success, is to say when they start selling, when they start building their business, that's when we'll participate in that. Other than that, cost to get in.
Got it. And you talked about multi-tenancy, and I know Salesforce has talked a lot about multi-tenancy over the years. For both guys, is that changing? And I see sometimes contrarian views that, hey, it doesn't matter if it's multi-tenant. Well, what do you see is changing here? What's kind of evolving in the world of the need for multi-tenancy, and what's the latest message from you guys? I have some of my own thoughts on it because I'm a big believer, but I'd like to get your take on the whole multi-tenant conversation.
Let me take a step back, because I'm an ISC that's actually built on these technologies, and almost everything we do inside of Xactly is in the cloud and is multi-tenancy. We use a general ledger that is cloud-based. We use Salesforce, obviously, on the Sales Cloud. We use Radian 6. You saw that on one of Avanish's slides, which is a social networking construct that helps determine what our share of voice is out there in the marketplace in our given domain. We use Chatter, to allow for the social enterprise to layer out, and it's actually in many respects replacing, the world. Let me sort of synthesize it into three things. First of all, I think it's something that's here to stay. I think, and I don't really think there's any more debate on that, but I think there still is some questions as why is this the one that won? We're really in the third generation of the Internet. In the first generation, we had our websites. In the second generation, people were trying to, applications. So generation one was sort of .com. And the idea was right, but the business models weren't quite. And the second generation, people were saying, hey, we understand that it needs to be in the Internet, so we'll sort of try to bundle this stuff together, and we'll try to provide business value. But they were still sort of doing hosted instances of on-premise software. And now we have advanced into is generation 3 of the Internet, which is, again, multi-tenancy, single instance. Those terms together because they're the same piece, but they're slightly different. Most of your people on this call are probably IT people, and they would appreciate this. Force was one of the first companies in the world to recognize the power of this. We all founded our company back in 2005, 100% on the notion that this needed to be the right way to do it. So from the ground up, we built our company in terms of this environment. And that whole notion is sort of turned into the word cloud. Oftentimes those are a little bit synonymous, multi-tenancy, but cloud actually expands soft service to include also platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. All three of those come together to create a cloud computing model. So there's things that I'd say are really, really important for the multi-tenancy. The first is the speed of implementation of the solution, and maybe more importantly, the speed of innovation. I said it right a few minutes ago, and he said that there is no charge to get into the Force platform at the front end. It's a variable model so that there's zero friction to test the idea. Now, for consumers of business-to-business software applications, there's no more powerful way to get best of breed. And the reason for it is because the iterations happen very, very fast. The speed of innovation is extraordinary. I like to ask the question for the larger companies that, let's say, have maybe an SAP deployment or an Oracle deployment, what version are you on? And usually everybody can say what version are they on. Then how many of you are associated with, let's say, LinkedIn or Facebook? And the question, what version of LinkedIn are you on? And there's no version of LinkedIn because it's full multi-tenancy. So the first value prop here is sound, is the speed of implementation, the speed of innovation. The second is best of breed. Historically, organizations like to have kind of a single throat to choke. The finance teams love to have a single throat choke. I need to know that if there's something wrong with my X system, I can go and get it instantly. With the cloud, you lose a little bit of the advantage of the single throat to choke, but you gain a much larger advantage of getting the best of breed solution in. Well, if you wanted to go with a single source solution that did everything across from your committing to your CRM, to your financial applications, to your ERP applications, single throat to choke, it is really unlikely, and I assert impossible that one vendor can provide you the best of breed in every one of those domains. And that's why the Salesforce organization has created the App Exchange, because now at last number I think it was about 1,300, might be 1,500 now, separate companies that are providing best of breed solutions that could only be done in the cloud. With Informatica, you now no longer have to worry about how do you connect the data from the first ISV application in Cloud A to the second ISV application in let's say Cloud B, because it's all homogeneous. There's still some heterogeneity as it relates to the cloud and various platforms. And the last is cost. And this is really, really powerful. Because it's a subscription model 9 times out of 10, if we don't have value to you, you churn out, you cannot renew in year 2. You stay for the first year, you don't renew in the second year, and all you've done is you've lost that 1 year. You haven't paid a $5 million license fee for a big piece of on-premise software. You've paid a smaller piece to make sure that we prove the value. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is this, which is there's 100 on this call. Say that every one of you has Xactly, the Xactly solution. And let one of you finds that there is a bug inside of my system. It becomes what we call a SEV1. It's a severe, one kind of a bug. And go and we do a fix almost immediately. We stop everything that we're doing in development and we fix your bug. When we fix your bug in multi-tenancy, we fix every single person in the system. And they may not even have seen the bug. So QA loop is infinitely better than being on multiple versions of software. So that's for me in a 5-minute story why I think multi-tenancy single instance is so powerful and here to stay.
Wow, clearly touched on something there. That was a great answer and great overview. Avanish, is there anything else to add on that topic?
Honestly, can't. Scott, that's obviously for Salesforce, for 2 seconds. For multi-tenancy is a core tenet, right? That's given. For all the reasons that Scott so eloquently said, it's something that we don't see that reverting back in any way, shape, or form, right? We've been built multi-tenant from day one. Folks like Xactly and others have followed suit in that same vein. And I think all the benefits, operational cost, the upgrades, the single version, all the things that Scott talked about, they're measurable. I think that's the one big that I would add to Scott's point, which is in this world you can actually measure the impact of the positive impact of having a multi-tenant model.
So let me bring back to the topic of integration. Questions come in about. There are other options to consider, whether you're building a platform or using an integration technology approach in-house. Maybe a question for both of you, but I'll start with you, Scott. The question is about, did Xactly consider any other integration middleware, and if so, what were the deciding factors on Informatica?
Well, it actually. We wanted sort of almost everything that was out there. and I think you can understand why. I mean, we obviously want to get what we think is going to be the best of breed in this space for our customers. From the sort of the value proposition side, I think we at Informatica has the breadth reach in terms of DNA. In other words, data integration DNA. We think Informatica is right at the top of that heap, both vertical in terms of historical sorts of connectivity, but also cloud-based. I think things, though, that probably swayed us to move towards Informatica was our sense that the customer had to be the one. Our customer needed to be the one to map the data. We want to have a situation, if we can avoid it, where we have to bring in a professional services organization to enable the implementation of our solution in the marketplace. And sometimes data mapping, especially when you're dealing with disparate data sources and something as complicated as running commands. We wanted it to be able to be done by the business analyst, so we looked very closely at the front-end interface. We figured that the back-end transformations load, extra kinds of technologies that you must historically be aware of, that there might be some ubiquity across various vendors. So we're really interested in what I think is the best front-end interface, what's the best user experience for a person that's necessarily an IT expert, because they may be needing to be mapped changes to the data quickly. In other words, in our world, sometimes if a competitor moves on price and then you have to move on price, you better change your commission structure pretty damn quick in order to get it up correctly. So you didn't want to have to go through 2 or 3 week loop inside of IP. So it was really that front-end user interface, I think, that caused you guys to win over the people that we took a look at.
Okay. Avanish, there's a lot of talk about, some developers think first about just hand coding this stuff, writing some web services, scripts. Are you seeing any shift in kind of the developer community in the Force.com ecosystem where people are considering a tools-based approach versus, hand coding? And what would your guidance be for one versus the other?
I think we are, Darren, seeing that shift starting to happen. I think the core premise here is, look, market and the ability to leverage your areas of expertise and core competence are very critical. And so therefore, leveraging an out-of-the-box platform like Force.com is one example of need to reinvent the wheel. Two, looking at, well-designed, prepackaged integration technologies rather than coding, another element of that. So I think as the market evolves and ISVs or developers look around and say, look, how to get my product to market fastest? How do I innovate in the areas that I have expertise in rather than having to reinvent the wheel, right? As they evaluate that, it's clear to me that they're moving towards a much more packaged model. Gives them the chance to innovate faster, get their products to market, get versions out a lot faster with the kind of feedback that Scott's talking earlier, whether it's bug fixes, whether it's new features, etc. Now, having said that, in a few cases you obviously will find where maybe a quick and dirty man approach might get the job done, but it reverts back to some of the issues of traditional enterprise software, because now it's manual, therefore you have to maintain it. If there's an issue, you have to go fix it in different places, and all the other complications that come with that. So we certainly see a trend to a more packaged model, and then with the logos you had on your slide, I think are a testament to that too. Great.
So one other question, and we're kind of towards the end of our time today. The theme of your overview, Avanish, was around social enterprise, and Scott talked a lot about third generation, sort of this next wave of cloud-based applications. Do you think that also has something to do with integration, being elevated in importance? There's this sort of a maturing the kinds of apps that are being built on the platform, and the need for multiple data sources and integration and master data management. And Scott, at Xactly, it's not a simple thing that you guys are doing, right? There's a lot of pains around compensation management. So I'll throw that there to both of you guys. Is there sort of a new level or next edition of kind of complexity of the applications that are being built now?
Why don't you start, and I'll speak again, Chuck.
Sure. Yeah, and I try to portray that in one of the slides where I'm showing the social enterprise wheel, right? And it's a combination of uncomplexity, perhaps, Darren, but from the end customer experience, in fact, simplicity. Customers want things to be easy and simple and intuitive, so the complexity needs to be taken care of in the underlying infrastructure and the platform and the like. For you look at the action between, and Scott, I'm sure we'll talk more to this, but it's not a silo. It needs to coexist with HR systems. It needs to coexist with CRM systems. It may need to coexist with other systems, which is maybe also be other cloud systems. I think it may be on-premise systems, etc. So the notion of thinking about the social enterprise and really understanding, again, what is that fundamental transformation, the board, the C-suite, the CIO, the IT organization is trying to promote, and from there figuring out how those pieces connect. I think that's absolutely what is happening, and we're seeing that in certainly some of our largest customers who are really thinking their enterprise architecture, as well as emerging companies who are trying to get the cloud and subscribing to a number of cloud-based services, and then saying, now I need to make them work together. So I think both ends of that spectrum, the exact same scenarios are applying. Scott?
Yeah, I think you said it exactly right. The answer is yes. The sophistication of applications now in the cloud are every bit as sophisticated as your traditional enterprise applications. Moreover, because of what the cloud provides and the tool sets that are out there, and as IT people, you probably heard most of this. Scrum methodology in terms of implementations of versions of your software means that the speed in which the software gets developed is much, much faster. You're no longer waiting 18 to 24 months for a release of something, but you're getting value, iteratively every few months or every quarter or so, which means learning in the market picks up. And the people benefit the most here are the end customers. The apps get sophisticated. It means the data that the apps reach into are all over the place. I said this as well. It's not just structured data. It's all structured data. The ability to pull, for example, out of the social enterprise, Twitter feeds, and that's what Ready and Fix does. It sort of coalesces a lot of these various feeds so that you see the data. The ability to do a keyword search, for example, and go across different clouds. So you're not just doing a keyword search in Bing, but you're doing keyword searches back to Twitter and on Facebook and their environments. And so I think mass data management is going to be a huge area in the future, and therefore that's why we are all hearing right now the big new word for this year is big data, which is, are we taking all this data that we've got and mining the data so that we can help people actually get to a best practices model. So it is more than a little bit sophisticated. It's sophisticated and it's full enterprise ready stuff.
Key words there that are, I think, good thoughts to leave on. So let me just to remind people and thank everyone for attending, and thank you both for some great words of wisdom. So Anish, where can people go? You mentioned that you can get up and running just as easily on Force.com as you can with Informatica Cloud. Where do you go to get started building a Force.com app?
So on our website, salesforce.com/ISV is a place to get started. And then just navigate through. There's videos of existing partners who've built solutions. There's some great videos of of our partners talking about their experience, much like what Scott just did, as well as other materials, etc.
Okay, and so as I said earlier, you can go to informaticacloud.com/ISV as well to get started with the Informatica Cloud trial. And Scott, where would somebody go who wants a fantastic incentive compensation management solution?
This is Xactlycorp.com. And when you're, given who you are, just press one or two things. If you're, over 500 employees, go one path. And if your other employees sort of go another path, then it'll navigate you great. Other place is if you already have Salesforce as your primary CRM, you can also on the App Exchange, on the Salesforce App Exchange. And if you just type in Mission Management, you'll see us. 5-star rating with the most reviews, and you can do an experience Xactly right off the app.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. And we will be sharing the recording and the slides, as a few of you have asked. And you can get in touch with any of us through our websites. And we look forward to helping you be successful in the cloud.